Hey, movie lovers, welcome back for another Anatomy of Movie here on Popcorn Talk. Today we dissect Hotel Transylvania 3, where Van Helsing goes up against Dracula. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Anatomy of a Movie.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The evil spirits are here. And they've taken over with the music of techno. We have Marissa Serafini.
Hello, everyone.
I'm Phil Svitek. As we mentioned, we're talking the third in the Hotel Transylvania installment here on Anatomy of Movie. For those of you coming to the show for the very first time, understand that it is going to be spoiler-filled. So, watch out for that if you haven't seen the movie. Also, we sort of break down the movie both in terms of plot and storylines, but we also get into the nitty-gritty, the making of the movie as well, so we're not just a review show. But without further ado, allow me to introduce Marissa Serafini. Yes,
I am here once again.
That's right. Welcome back.
Yes, thank you. I've been gone for a couple of weeks. I was on my own summer vacation.
She was. She's been taking care of the hotel here at Popcorn Talk, and she went off on her own Bermuda Triangle trip.
Yeah, and I was on the water. There you go.
And I'm Phil Svitek. Good to be here. So let's start with overall thoughts on this movie. Let me know, what did you think of the movie?
Well, I was always a fan of the Hotel Transylvania movies. When the first one came out, I laughed a lot, and I was like, yeah, this is good for an animated film, especially from Sony's. And I really enjoyed it, so I was excited to see the second one, and definitely excited to see the third one. And I laughed a lot in this one, too. And I think they had a good balance of adult jokes to kid jokes, and me being a 90s baby, there was a lot of songs that I appreciated from someone of my age, and it was funny. I went in for high entertainment, and I definitely got that. So it lived up to all my expectations from the first and second Hotel Transylvania movies to this one.
Fair enough. So for me, here's some insider baseball for you. So Anthony Becerra from Horror Movie News here on Popcorn Talk. Him and I were talking, and I said to him, I really want to see Hotel Transylvania 3. And he's like, are you serious? And I slapped him. I'm like, of course I'm serious. It's going to be a great movie. He's like, no, are you for real? I'm like, yeah, Hotel Transylvania and Hotel Transylvania 2, good movies. 3 is going to be just as good. And you know what? It was.
Yeah, exactly.
End of story.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I slapped him.
Good.
And I'll slap anyone else who thinks these movies aren't. Like, it's as you mentioned, it's good. It's got kid humor, but if you're an adult, it has this kid spirit. It's got good stories. You'll have fun with it. I promise you. You're in and out. Go see these movies.
Yeah, and there's slapstick humor, too, which I'm always a fan of. And not once did the running gags throughout the film ever really got tired for me. I enjoyed it from beginning to the end.
Yeah, and what I appreciate, I mean, they fill this, let's say, an hour and a half, give or take. I know it's slightly longer with credits and so forth, but an hour and a half. The overall plot is simple, but they're able to fill it with fun moments of family dynamics and as you may slapstick and humor and all this, and you kind of just at this point it's built up all these characters, right? Mavis, and then now Jonathan's really integral to it, and of course the kid, and so now what was it, Tickles?
Yeah, Tickles.
So we built up this cast of characters that we've come to love, and we spend enough time with each of them and kind of making sure that we check in. Maybe they're not necessarily integral to the plot 100%, but everyone has their moments.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also just with, yes, the storyline, the main storyline is actually very simple to follow. I mean, kids are watching this, so it has to be simple for them to understand. But also there are good actual universal themes to the story. And I love how these old quote-unquote monsters such as Dracula and Mavis, they're hundreds of years old, but they're living in today's modern technology and, stuff like we saw Zinger, which is totally a play on Grindr and Tinder and like the online dating and stuff. So there's a lot of modern day stuff that's happening with these older type of characters, and it's fun to watch.
And the opening scene of this flips that whole Van Helsing Dracula notion on its head, where Dracula's always been made out to be this evil character back from Bram Stoker's Dracula, and you know, monsters, they've been portrayed that way. Whereas here, they're just fun beings.
Yeah, and again, they're more friendly for kids because monsters usually, growing up, kids are afraid of monsters, and to have a full-length feature movie times 3, they've made 3 of them now for actual fun, likable monsters. It's good for them to give them just like fun characters and personalities.
Absolutely. Who is your favorite character?
Blobby was so much funny, was so funny, just because he doesn't really talk. He's just a being thing. But everything that happens to him, I think that goes with my slapstick humor that I enjoyed. They literally threw everything at Blobby, and it didn't affect him one bit. So that was just fun to watch visually for me.
Yeah, and you know, one of the elements that works for Blobby in particular, the way they kind of sequence it, is it almost turns into a mini music video. You underscore it with some fun music, and because at that point, I think the one you're referring to, Dracula comes out, he's dancing and so forth.
Yes.
And Blobby's trying to dance with him, and yet Ericka Van Helsing tries to literally off Dracula, but it's at the cost of Blobby.
Yeah, Blobby has like an axe or something, or something gets thrown through him, and it doesn't affect him a bit. And it's fun because they literally throw him in the ocean, and physically, because he is just a gelatinous creature, it's not going to like kill him, and it's fun Jello. It's kind of like Flubber. You know why everyone loved Flubber? Flubber was, you know, like a tangible thing that couldn't be harmed.
Yeah.
So Blobby's the same.
Blobby is the same. Well, you know, at the core of this, even before we talk about the villain, the core of this movie really is a kind of family dynamic where you have, even though at this point they've lived pretty much centuries, you know, Dracula's feeling a little bit lonely, and he wants to be with somebody, and he's actively pursuing that, and yet he can't tell his own daughter that, because he's worried that because of that she might not be enough, or like that's been their whole dynamic, and in this case it's been their whole dynamic for decades.
Yeah, hundreds of years. But that's also a very universal theme that we see where parents split up due to divorce or separation or even, you know, death in middle. And I like that. It's like, how do the children react to seeing their parents maybe finding love again, but how do the parents think of what and how that affects their children? And I like that because it's not just about who you love, it's just the idea of falling in love again, and they really touched upon that.
Yeah, they did, and they made it work. And you know, it's always that kind of interesting opposition where, you know, the child, in this case the daughter, she has a strong inkling against Ericka Van Helsing, and oftentimes in movies that gets flipped on its head because it's like, oh, their intuition is correct, this person really is evil. And yet what I appreciate about this movie, you know, cutting to the chase, is that it manages to flip that on its head, and both Dracula and Ericka are able to zing again.
Zing. And I love that because that was the running thing, was like, I zinged. And just the way that Drac just like became this, you know, speechless person in love, it was endearing to watch, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love a man that speaks Transylvanian.
Oh, that's sexy. But also just how Mavis, you know, looked at it too, because she zinged with a human. So, and I think it was very understandable that Mavis would understand the situation. Like, yeah, you can zing more than once.
Absolutely. And then if you kind of look at it, really break it down in sort of more adult thoughts, but it is presenting an idea of inclusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because we're including the monsters in there, you know, you can attribute whatever race or culture you want to them, but then including both monsters and humans as part of one entity, and there being no distinction about anyone trying to kill each other. That's a very positive message, especially in today's day and world.
Absolutely, and that goes with, you know, Gendi or Gendi. I believe that's. I'm gonna butcher his name, but the director, he's actually an immigrant. He was born in Russia, so when he was writing the story, his personal immigration and stories about tolerance and acceptance kind of bled into the storylines, that all the monsters are equal in this way, and there's like lots of different shapes, forms, beliefs, opinions, but they can all coexist within the same world. And so again, with the universal themes.
Yeah. Well, also to that point, one of the inspirations for him was this idea that he went on a family trip and all the things went wrong there, which is another universal thing. Like sometimes you need a vacation from your family.
Yep. The director was inspired by National Lampoon. And also, with other directors who have done that, John Hughes, he's known for doing that, taking real life situations. I mean, that's how we got Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, which is one of the best movies ever.
Well, a movie we covered here on Anatomy.
Exactly. In depth. Go check it out. I love when directors can write their own personal experiences, but make something fun out of it.
Yeah, and, especially with a movie like this, you can't help but make it fun. I mean, you can't take these ridiculously wacky characters that are, as we mentioned, that are supposed to be horrifying, and now you're twisting it on its head where they're not, and inject this into it. And in that sense, like, it all makes sense, right? It's called Summer Vacation. Part of it, Mavis, even though Dracula wants to do this because he's looking for a mate, Mavis has the right idea. Like, we all need to get together as a family, and you've been taking care of everyone else but yourself. So let's go off on this adventure.
Mm-hmm. A hotel on the water.
I love that.
I was like, oh, yeah, that's true. And there was a line where our accountant was like, that's exactly what we do. That's what we offer. And I'm like, yeah, but this is your vacation now.
Yeah, that was a funny comparison. But this is on a boat.
It's on a boat.
What I appreciated, it's kind of, it does take us out of the hotel element, which has been fun to explore for the first two movies. Mm-hmm. But now seeing kind of, I don't know if they're not, stereotype's not the right word, but we get the Bermuda Triangle, we get the Titanic in essence.
Yeah, Titanic, that was awesome. And also Atlantis. So because these are monster mythical creatures, of course you have to throw in the mystical storylines and locations into like Bermuda and Atlantis. And I love that. That was fun. Titanic, also, because I've seen that movie so many times, I did love the idea, but also it kind of detracted me as a viewer because I love Titanic and I've seen the ship so many times. Every time there was a location, there were so many like shot by shots in this movie that's directly ripped from Titanic. Shot by shot.
Well, yes, yeah.
Yeah, you play it side by side, and it's like the whole scene where the boat's actually taking off from the harbor. Yeah, literally shot for shot. I didn't mind it, but also like kind of be isolated, be individual, not rip it from Titanic.
I didn't mind simply because I knew what it was making fun of, and it's again, it's flipping it on its head. First thought, like, one of the more original things, maybe it is ripping it from somewhere else. What it's ripping it off, I don't know. But before we went on air, we joked about the plane scene as a point of interest. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, and I love that because I literally just flew a few days ago. So, and I'm sure a lot of people who travel by plane knows all the actual etiquette that you have to do on the plane. It's like you have to always be buckled in. They're like, you time to unbuckle yourself. And then the one line, they're like, no, you're free to roam about the cabin as they start their descent, which is the exact opposite
of what you're supposed to do.
But that plane looked awful, especially being run by gremlins. No way would any regular human be on that plane.
I would hope not.
No, you would die.
It's here. I have a little piece of trivia regarding that. The Gremlins resemble the title monsters of the 1984 horror/comedy, but their behavior on the plane also calls to mind, as it were, the original Gremlins. Gremlins were once known as Royal Air Force as mischievous imps who sabotaged planes. Whenever something went wrong and no one knew why, a gremlin was blamed. During his time in RAF, author Roald Dahl heard this myth and wrote a story about them, making gremlins famous or perhaps infamous throughout the world. So,
yeah.
Because I didn't, as far as that, I was like, wait, what myth is this coming from? I didn't really know too much, like, why they were drawing this, where this idea came from about gremlins just flying a plane.
Especially on a plane. I wish, knowing now that, because like I knew the Gremlins, I can delineate the creatures, but knowing that now, I think they should have named one person at least Mowgli. That would have been great.
Yeah. But what's fun about this is that each of these characters does have such a deep history, which enriches it if you know it, but doesn't detract if you don't.
Yeah. And they're fun characters too. And I like even Ericka Van Helsing, that's a made up character, but we know the lore of Van Helsing, and Van Helsing's the iconic person who actually takes down Dracula. So I love how they added this lineage to Van Helsing. It's like this is an ongoing thing. Absolutely.
And one of my favorite scenes, we'll talk about the Van Helsings and the big plot, but before we do, I loved the werewolves and them dropping the kids off.
Yes.
That was a good scene.
Brilliant. It's like, we can do anything. And I think that's what parents probably loved, when they have so many kids and for once they get that taste of freedom and not having to worry about their kids. Like, we could do anything. I think I heard some parents laugh at that line.
Yeah, because it's the three-peat realization of like, what do we do? Anything. And it just kind of escalated each time.
Right.
Anything.
I kind of actually thought that it was just gonna, like, after they kept repeating the line so many times, it was just gonna hard cut to them sleeping in bed, like just catching up on sleep like any normal parent would.
Well, that becomes the joke, is that they're tranquilized, so they kind of do end up sleeping.
Yeah.
They get to enjoy it a little bit. They get to play fetch together, and that's about all they get to really do.
The dogs. I did love that, but, going back to what you said, that each character had their moment, that definitely was theirs.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the love story, because this is the crux of it, and a lot of things get misinterpreted. Certainly, Dracula's friends misinterpret her. Again, they just do such a wonderful job of them overhearing what Ericka is actually saying, but obviously it's in reference to her wanting to kill Dracula.
She wants you. She's into you. I love that. That was funny. And also that plays with the dramatic irony of the audience knowing that Ericka actually wants to kill him. So it's fun how misheard conversations lead to just a funny plotline device.
Yeah. And what did you think in general as far as the plotting of all of this? Because really, this is the plot of it all.
Right. Well, I was actually somewhat conflicted because the character of Ericka, she was cool, and we've seen Hollywood movies nowadays, they're giving female protagonists / antagonists, bigger characters. So when I first saw her, I was like, okay, she's probably the antagonist now. Also cool. But I was conflicted because she was all in white, which is symbolic of someone who's actually good and pure. And she had evil intentions, but at the end, she was actually good. So seeing her play off of Count, I was like, I don't know if I should trust you. So, but it was fun seeing, like, the fun, quirky dynamic that they had getting to know each other, but also the underlying idea she just wants to kill him.
Yeah, and I think there's, if you really dig deeper into it, which, again, it's not the most brainiest movie in the world, but it does have some underlying aspects to it. So as far as this, like, her plight really is this notion that she has to carry on her legacy, the Van Helsing legacy, whether she wants to or not. Because the more she gets to know Dracula, the more she falls in love, or zings, and yet it's in conflict with what her heritage is.
Right. And there were also lines as like, that's what you trained me, that's what you taught me. So I was like, yeah, you were taught that, but do you believe it?
Absolutely.
Do you actually act upon it? And I loved how the ship was also named the Legacy. Very apropos. That was definitely intended.
Well, even the grandfather, great-grandfather, he wasn't... he never took the time to know Dracula, and that's what separates this movie in a sense, because at no point did Dracula try to kill him off, and he said to him, like, hey, I've been through this before, like, we don't have to do this. And I thought that was an interesting take on something like that.
And I love the beginning also, because it was even before they showed Hotel Transylvania 3, that quick montage of years upon years and situations where Van Helsing was trying to take out Drac. So, like, it built the storyline that this has been ongoing, and Van Helsing line has never been successful.
He was not. So let's talk about I want to talk about the final showdown because it's just so much fun. This is where everything comes to a culmination, and just the humor, the action, whatever other elements you want to throw into it. I don't know how to be descriptive enough with this moment.
It was kind of modern, but yet throwback at the same time, because with the Tiesto music, definitely modern. And also such a departure from the regular kind of music that we would hear Count Dracula listen to, you would think. And so it was fun to hear a DJ battle / dance battle. Fun for kids and adults. So a lot of people could enjoy that. But then throw it back to the happy songs, such as, Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Yeah, and what works about that, even if you're, let's say, a 5-year-old kid, you don't have to know that song to understand, don't worry, be happy. It's just it's just so ridiculous. And I remember, I went by myself, but there was a couple of kids and a couple of parents, and they just had a fun time, and they were getting up and cheering and just dancing to the music, especially Juliet in the booth. Get the song, and I think you know the song that I'm talking about. Get that going. You can't help but react to this, no matter if you've seen this or heard this.
And every kid should know this song.
And it's the world's simplest dance, and it got it going. And if you look at it, it's the world's positive message of okay, you want to destroy the world? Well, love will heal the world.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So when the music started playing, I legitimately audibly laughed out loud. And I think I was the only person who laughed. I was like, this is hysterical, you guys. Who doesn't love the Macarena? What other songs could you think that puts you in a better mood and can destroy evil with Macarena? It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's what are they even saying? But it's just you can't help it. By the way, for those interested, you guys should watch the music video because it starts with one person, and it's just so infectious. It goes from one to the next, and it just spreads like a wonderful virus.
Yeah. Goodness spreads, and I think, and that was the whole message, is just spread the good, happy contagiousness of it, and I love it. And it was actually funny, and I think why it was more funny to me compared to everyone else, I randomly reheard Macarena 2 days ago before, the day before I saw this movie. So it was already fresh in my head.
Keep playing that music. What you doing?
So
there you go. Don't turn off my Macarena.
Macarena will never age.
It will not.
It's great.
All right. Well, I also know you have some behind-the-scenes aspects, especially because it is an animation movie. You love animation, so I want to give you an opportunity to talk about those aspects.
Well, the cool thing about, definitely the characters, and one of the characters, Blobby. Yeah.
I'll dance for you while you talk.
There you go. Blobby, he's the green gelatinous. They said they actually, he was, not to say difficult, but was more challenging because he could form in a lot of different shapes and stuff. And they said, the director actually said, it's about keeping him round and squishy. He's a fun character to animate because sometimes he's mindless like a jellyfish and sometimes he's motivated. So it's fun to walk that balance of how much to show in his eyes. So that's where they really added the personality via the eyes. And you can tell a lot when it just comes to acting of I am emoting in that way. Yeah. And then also, they added Baby Blobby.
Baby Blobby. I loved it.
And I thought it was funny seeing it executed, he was getting sick and then he threw up. But also, I was like, he's a man who just had a baby.
Listen, we're breaking all kinds of stereotypes.
Exactly. So I thought that was cool. And the interesting thing about Count Dracula, because he can be in human form to bat form, and how to translate and transform more so from human to bat, they had to do a lot of different animations, and they wanted Count to have strong, hard lines And every time there's the transitional point from human to bat, they threw a lot of VFX over with like a purple magic mist to show the transformation. So stuff like that. And then Kraken, of course, is the big sea monster that goes crazy on people, but then eventually gets better. Also voiced by Joe Jonas. Big new character that they had to do because of his big massive size. They had to like scale everything to him, and one of the more challenging aspects of Kraken was the mouth, because it was real, like, and the tentacles, because so big the tentacles were its own VFX rig and the mouth was its own VFX rig. So and there were moments where they had to like stack shots from a tentacle in the foreground to the mouth in the middle background, and they were two different visual rigs in the program because the character was so big. And I think it's cool. If you check out our rundown, there's more details, but definitely you don't think about how they actually put together big monsters when it comes to animating.
But especially, like, I mean, it's all the voice performance dictates a lot of the emotions, and then of course, you know, because you can do anything with animation, people kind of expect you to do great things with it. And they certainly do. And going back to your point about Dracula, him just in board shorts dancing across the surface and whatnot, that was just a lot of fun. You know, he's a tall, lanky, pale Dracula.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing with animation is that, yes, we have usually, well-known actors behind the voices, but also just the beauty of animation is giving characters personality just by their own physical movement. And the research here just shows, like, how much they actually put just in the movement alone. And I think it's fascinating because that adds a whole nother layer of personality.
Yeah, for something like this, you have to, not to detract from other movies, but you have to have fun movement. You know what I mean? You have to, like, especially with the Macarena, like, you think of the scale at which everyone has to be having fun. You can't just, create one character and then duplicate him multiple times doing the same thing. Like, everyone doing that Macarena at the end has to have their own enjoyment of that song.
Right. And every character has to, like, look like, yes, they are monsters, so they're different colors and different sizes. Like, Tickles is a dog, but no dog is ever that big.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob. Even the running joke of just, hi, Bob, like a dog can talk, that was hilarious. So to have, like, different monsters of different sizes, but all doing the Macarena, like, that is a feat in and of itself.
Absolutely. Well, as far as other things, this movie actually was supposed to come out in September, but because of Goosebumps 2, Haunted Halloween, they decided to move up the date, which, given a title like Summer Vacation, makes a lot more sense to do it in July.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's summer. It's very appropriate, and I think, and it's good because Goosebumps is more scary, so it should be closer to the Halloween time. And, I enjoyed it. It's not like they lost a ton of time, because usually animated films take years upon years anyways to create, so it's not like a Disney movie where they lost a year. They only lost about 2 months, so it's not too bad for them. No, indeed. And obviously the reason this movie was even made was because the first two were very successful. Right now, before pre-Hotel Transylvania 3, it was sitting at $931 million worldwide, so this will certainly take it over that $1 billion mark. Yep.
Came in number one at the box office for the weekend, beat out Dwayne Johnson's Skyscraper, A- on Cinema Score. So, you know what? And I'm going to go back to Anthony Becerra of Horror Movie News. I slap you, fool.
Yeah.
Don't tell me Hotel Transylvania is not a good movie.
See, and that's the fun thing, because, like, I love the first one. The first one felt very original, even though, like, I knew the characters and their lore and stuff, but to have them all in one film, I thought it was really cool, and it was super funny. And the first one was a financial success. I remember when the first one came out, and I was like, this is awesome. So I'm glad that they actually made sequels, and I'm glad that they're actually still successful. This franchise now that they have 3, it hasn't suffered from sequelitis, and I'm happy for them.
Yeah, because you could see them just kind of phoning it in, just like, oh, we're gonna make money, blah blah. And no, two was 2 was equally fun, and the third one, by the title, a lot of times when TV shows or movies go to like the island destination, you're like, this is just the
like,
cash
do we
grab.
need it?
But when you watch this, you're like, no, you know what? It's just fun, and they did justice to this idea.
Right, and I like how even the director and producer of the first 2, and they actually wanted to end at 2. They didn't really feel the need originally for a third one until the director got inspiration for the third one going on a cruise. So, and I like that because even they knew when to stop when they were already ahead, but to keep going when they know they can still be as good as their previous. So good for them.
Yeah. Well, they are thinking of new movies to make with this, which maybe it's the fight against Airbnb. I don't know.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Where would you like to see all these cast of monsters go? I mean, they're not at a hotel on water, but where else could they go?
I don't, I'd have to really think about it, give it some thought, but I can certainly write in the comments. In fact, I implore you, the audience, to do that. Where would you like to see these characters go?
Ooh, I don't know. That's why I asked you. I think it'd be fun because, the first 2, they were very, landlocked in their one location. That's why it's Hotel Transylvania. And it was more about the storyline and the family aspect. And I like misplacing them and taking them out of their comfort zone. It's fun to see who can shine somewhere else and adapt. Maybe some other mystical creature or mystical place that they can go to, Narnia or somewhere. Just take them to another mystical land, and I think it would still be fun.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Loved it, and I would probably buy this movie.
Okay.
It's a kid's movie, but I enjoyed it. I'm an adult. I loved it.
I, too, am an adult sometimes, and I, too, enjoyed it.
Yep.
So, thank you guys as always. If you want to comment and let us know your opinion on the movie, what you liked, and so forth, let us know in the comments section. In the meantime, you can check us out, interact with us offline, though still online, at Serafini TV.
That's right.
I'm Phil Svitek. Thank you guys as always, and we'll leave you on the Macarena. Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.